My name is Margaret Collins, though most people just call me Maggie. I grew up in a small Midwestern town, married my high school sweetheart, and spent most of my life raising children, teaching at the local elementary school, and building a home filled with traditions and memories. My husband, Charles, has always been my rock. After 50 years of marriage, we had gotten used to the rhythm of life together. The simple joys of gardening, Sunday church, and family dinners. But life never stops changing, even when you think you've already experienced it all. That became clear this summer when Charles had to travel out of state for 2 weeks to visit his brother, who had recently undergone surgery. I couldn't join him because I was helping take care of our grandson, Ethan, while his parents were tied up with demanding work schedules. Ethan was 10 years old, full of boundless energy, and had a curiosity that reminded me so much of Charles when he was a boy. He loved video games, baseball, and asking questions about everything. He also had a tender side, always quick to hug me or help set the dinner table. When Charles left, I promised my daughter Rebecca that I'd take care of Ethan for a while. But what I didn't expect was that our week together would take a turn I never saw coming. It began when the air conditioning at my house broke down. It was early July, and the Midwest was in the middle of a brutal heat wave. The inside of the house felt like an oven, and no amount of fans or iced tea could make it bearable. After 2 nights of sweating through sheets, I made a decision. I booked us a stay at a nearby hotel that had a pool and central air. It wasn't far, just on the edge of town, but to Ethan, it felt like an adventure. The moment we checked in, Ethan's eyes lit up. The lobby had a fountain that sparkled under chandelier lights, and he whispered, "Grandma, this is fancy." I laughed and squeezed his hand. "It's just a hotel, sweetheart, but I'm glad you like it." That first evening, we unpacked in our room. Ethan sprawled on the bed, flipping through the channels, while I organized our things in the drawers. It felt a little strange being in a hotel without Charles, who usually took care of logistics like checking the locks twice and reminding me where the ice machine was. But I kept telling myself this was just temporary. The highlight for Ethan was, of course, the pool. The next morning, he begged me to go swimming with him. I hadn't been in a swimsuit in years, but I pulled on my old one-piece and joined him. As soon as we got to the pool, his laughter echoed off the walls. He splashed, practiced his cannonballs, and asked me to watch him over and over. I couldn't remember the last time I had laughed that hard. For a moment, I forgot the heat wave, the broken air conditioner, even Charles being away. But that night, something unexpected happened. After dinner, Ethan and I were back in the room, eating ice cream we'd picked up from the little hotel shop. He suddenly grew quiet. His spoon clinked against the cup, and he looked at me with those wide, searching eyes. "Grandma," he said softly, "can I tell you something? But you have to promise not to be mad." My heart squeezed. Children always say those words before sharing something important. I set my cup aside and nodded. "Of course, honey. You can tell me anything." He hesitated, then whispered, "Sometimes I feel like nobody listens to me. Mom and Dad are always so busy. And I know they love me, but I feel like I'm invisible." His voice trembled a little, and I felt my throat tighten. I reached over and pulled him into my arms. "Oh, Ethan," I said, brushing his hair back. "You are never invisible. You are so loved. I see you. I always see you." He hugged me tightly, and I realized that this trip was about much more than escaping the heat. It was about being present with my grandson, hearing him in a way I hadn't slowed down to before. The next few days were filled with little adventures. We visited the hotel's game room, played cards in the lobby, and even went for a walk around the lake nearby. Each night, we'd stay up a little later than usual, telling stories. Ethan asked me questions about my childhood, about how I met Charles, about what life was like before cell phones and computers. His curiosity seemed endless, and I cherished every moment. But one evening near the end of our stay, there was a knock on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, I saw a woman standing there, someone I didn't recognize. She was middle-aged, with tired eyes and a polite smile. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said, "but I think your grandson left this in the hallway." She handed me Ethan's baseball cap. I thanked her, and we struck up a conversation in the doorway. Her name was Linda, and she was staying at the hotel while going through a difficult divorce. She admitted she had noticed how close Ethan and I seemed, and she said quietly, "You're lucky. Not every child gets that kind of attention." After she left, I couldn't stop thinking about her words. They reminded me of how fragile family bonds can be if we don't nurture them. I looked over at Ethan, who was happily building a Lego set on the floor, and I felt a wave of gratitude. On our last night at the hotel, Ethan surprised me again. As we were packing up, he said, "Grandma, I think this was the best week of my life." His words nearly brought me to tears. He didn't care about fancy vacations or expensive gifts. He just wanted someone to spend time with him, to laugh with him, to listen. When Charles returned home a few days later, I told him everything. I described the hotel, the pool, the late-night conversations, and Ethan's confession about feeling invisible. Charles grew quiet, then nodded slowly. "Maybe we've all been too busy," he said. "We should make more time for moments like that." That night, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I realized something profound. What I never saw coming wasn't just the broken air conditioner or the unexpected hotel stay. It was the reminder that even in the most ordinary settings, a simple hotel room, a pool, a shared ice cream, lives can be changed. My grandson taught me that listening with your whole heart is the most powerful gift you can give. And so, what began as an inconvenient situation turned into one of the most cherished weeks of my life. I stayed at a hotel with my grandson while my husband was away, and what I discovered was not only how much Ethan needed to feel seen, but how much I needed to slow down and see him too. That I will never forget.